Good afternoon. Just a heads up, Creighton is on the way to the interview room. We'll have Coach and the 5 starting student athletes. Then the student athletes will be released after 20 minutes up here for breakout rooms, and Coach will stay here for approximately 20 minutes. You can, but then that, like, yeah, for anyone, for sure. Great. I saw that and I was like, well, he'll be back here in a few hours.
It's from last night.
Yeah. Well, this morning, actually. But
Whatever it was.
Okay, as the Blue Jays get settled, just the friendly reminder to make sure your phones are set to silent and no recording of the press conferences here in the interview room. Raise your hand when you have a question. We'll get a microphone to you. And for anyone joining us on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature there, and we'll fit you in the best we can. With that said, we'd like to welcome the Creighton Blue Jays here on Saturday. And Coach, if you don't mind, opening remarks, and we'll get rolling.
I'm incredibly proud of this team. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm blessed to have been part of it with them. We're caught somewhere in between celebration and preparation. That's a slippery slope to walk sometimes, because we've accomplished some things that have never been accomplished in our program. Yet we have a real opportunity that awaits us tomorrow. So hopefully they got a little bit of rest last night, and we'll try to do the same tonight. Playing a really good opponent that we have tremendous respect for. Played him in the NCAA tournament last year. As I said last night, we shared the charter to Maui there and back. So Dutch and I had 6 hours of conversation both directions. And as I also said last night, Steve Fisher's a longtime friend of mine, kind of part of an infamous poker group on the Nike trip for a lot of years. With himself and Frieder and Boeheim and Roy Williams and some others, Bobby Cremens. So I've known Fish for a long time, and have tremendous respect for him. And Brian's done an unbelievable job with this team once again this season, and we'll have to have our A game tomorrow.
Thanks, Coach. Tip-off questions here, back row, left side.
NBC Omaha. Question for Art. I was talking to your brother a couple days ago. He was hoping that this would become a reality tomorrow. What do you think now that you guys will be facing off with a spot in the Final Four on the line?
Yeah, it's a surreal experience. I mean, I got to play against my brother last year in the very first round of the tournament, but to be able to play against him in the Elite Eight is something amazing. I'm just happy my family gets to experience it.
Come up here on the right side, second row.
Joel Lorenzi, Omaha World Herald. Mac, obviously mentioned that you played this team last year in the first round. I guess what are some of the similarities and differences you see from this San Diego State team?
Some things never change, and that's their toughness defensively, their positioning defensively, how their ability to knock you out of rhythm on the defensive end of the floor, and how aggressive they are in the glass. They've got a few new faces. They've got several guys that were part of that game last year, and as do we. We've got a couple new faces, but a lot of guys that were in it last year. And it was a game they really controlled for 37 minutes, and then we had an incredible run at the end to get it to overtime and found a way to win it. So besides a trip to the Final Four on the line, I'm sure they've been looking forward to this game as well.
Next question, left side, second row in the middle.
Greg, Bryce Miller from the San Diego Union Tribune. These teams seem potentially very well matched, but San Diego State is maybe one seed position higher. They just knocked off the #1 overall team in the tournament. You guys are favored. It's close. But I wonder what the sense of the national perception is of San Diego State, because the Mountain West, you don't see those games at night. And also, what was it like for you guys when you went to the Big East in terms of perception?
At the time we went to the Big East, I never felt like the Creighton story was told. I always shared with a lot of people in Omaha that I felt like we were a Sweet 16 away from people understanding what a special basketball situation we have in Omaha at Creighton University, and we could never quite knock that door down. And then when we moved to the Big East, gradually that story's been told, starting with Doug and him being the player of the year the first year and us being really competitive in the first year in the Big East. And then all the teams that have followed. You know, we've had 4 teams since then that have been in the top 10. And as that happens, your story gets told, and it continues to get told this year because of this group that's sitting up here with me. Anybody that appreciates basketball understands how good San Diego State is, and how and historically how good they've been. You know, obviously with Coach Fisher, and then since Dutch has taken over, they haven't missed a beat. They play a brand of basketball that's built on toughness, built on intelligence. They don't take many bad shots, and they're very physical when the ball goes up on the glass. So we're well aware of how good they are and how good that they have been. And you add the connection with Art's brother, and obviously that connects our programs even more so. So because of that, we watch them a little bit more than we do other teams. So we are well aware of what they're about, and I think sometimes maybe when you're on the inside, you don't understand the perception on the outside, but trust me, in the basketball circle, San Diego State and the job that Coach Dutcher has done, everybody understands how good a job he has done.
Next question's right side on the aisle.
Matt Foster, ABC Omaha. Trey, this is for you. As Mac mentioned, how do you kind of balance celebrating what you did last night while also looking forward to tomorrow?
For me, I feel like it's kind of a short celebration. I feel like you celebrate in the moment, like with your guys, and then, get your rest that night, and then you be ready to refocus the next day because it's a quick turnaround. Like Max said, you don't want to get too high because, we're here, but we have to act like we've been here before. So, we still have another chance to be able to provide for the program and be able to just show what we can do on the national stage.
Now let's go left side aisle.
John Howard from CBS 8 in San Diego. Greg, I'm just very curious to know who fared better at the poker table between you and Coach Fisher.
Coach Fisher acts like he doesn't know what's going on. Like, he asks a lot of dumb questions. Games we've played 100 times, he'll ask, okay, tell me the rules again, and then he'll take all the money. So, and every one of you that knows him knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Left side in the back.
Joe Nugent, NBC Omaha. Question for any of the players. Curious about the flight. Kind of a unique situation going back and forth with the team. Did there any interesting stories or anything stand out about that experience for any of you guys?
Thank you.
Yeah. I thought it was just a cool experience to be on the flight with those guys. They're all real good dudes. We know they're a great program. They're super humble. It was just a nice flight to interact with them. We're sitting apart from each other, but just a cool experience being able to be with those guys and get to know them a little bit, so it was good.
Okay. Next question, let's come back to the middle.
Matt, congratulations on your 300th win as Creighton head coach last night. When you came to Creighton, did you envision kind of reaching this point here in Omaha and to accomplish that milestone in such an important game?
Well, when I came to Creighton, I had no idea we'd be in the Big East. Creighton had a long history of success under Coach Altman in the Missouri Valley, and I understood the responsibility of trying to continue to move the program forward and build on what he had already done. So all the things that have transpired over the last 13 years is really, really incredible. And, you know, these guys have been terrific. They've been fun to coach. I think it's obvious when you watch us play. They play with joy. They're honestly having fun out there when they play, and that's the way I want them to play. And while getting 300 in that game would be nice, it's 301 I'm worried about right now.
Front row, left side.
Gary Graves, Associated Press. For Trey, getting to this point obviously was a breakthrough for the program, but I mean that you all wanted to make. But now that you've gotten through, you know, how hungry does it make this team now to go even further?
Yeah, I feel like it makes us even more hungry. I mean, me and R2 were having a conversation earlier in the room about how, I mean, we're here now and like it's kind of like a situation where we just want to see how far we can take it. And so, I mean, our mindsets are just on the next game. Like Mac said, we're just trying to see how well we can play in terms of keep riding the momentum into the situation that we're in. I mean, obviously we're very blessed and we're very humble to be here, but I mean, we're even more hungry than we were when we first got here.
Next question, back row on the aisle.
Hey, this question is for Art. Was there anything that you learned last year from playing against your brother that kind of surprised you that, you know, you'll take into this year's matchup? You know, not necessarily on the court, but maybe off the court, how you guys handled it and how it was for your family?
Yeah, I mean, when we played them last year, they got up on us pretty big, and I feel like we didn't take it. I mean, we took the matchup seriously, but we just have to come in with a different type of, like, preparedness this time so the game doesn't get so out of hand that early. And we finished it out how we finished it out last year.
Third row, right side.
Ellie French from ABC in Omaha. Art, I know you gave us a scouting report on your brother last year. I think you said he played that Pat Bev defense. Would you say that the scouting report is similar from last year, or how has it maybe changed?
Nah, it's basically the same. I mean, he's a good player. He plays pretty good defense. He's a good shooter. We could run him off the line, force him to take some tough twos. He's a cerebral player, doesn't foul a lot. So just try to contain him, you know, make sure he doesn't get no open looks.
Let's go. We'll start left side, third row, and then we'll come right in front.
Mark Ziegler, San Diego Union Tribune. Question for Ryan and Ryan. You didn't get to play in the game last year against San Diego State, and what was that like for you, having to watch your team fall behind? And for the taller Ryan, your memories of that game, obviously, victory, but an injury as well.
I would just say, like, obviously, I got hurt, so I didn't get to play in the next game after that, but I think it was just way more fun for me to see my guys and teammates on that team pull off the win for me. And obviously, I didn't even watch the last 2.5 minutes of that game. But, no, I think it was just overall way more fun to see them do that, and the way they fought and the way they pulled that game out was really, really cool.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of just a fun game to watch. It was my first time in March, first time being in an atmosphere like that. And it was a crazy game up and down. We had some foul trouble. I remember Trey was in some foul trouble early. But, yeah, we ended up pulling it out late in the game. We played some good basketball at the end of the game, and we ended up getting the win. So it was a fun experience to be able to watch that.
Okay. Left side, middle, and then back on the left end.
I guess if we're going with the taller Ryan system, taller Ryan, San Diego State was undersized against Alabama. Alabama had a huge front line. The way they played them, they kind of leaned on their physicality. What do you see in them in terms of that matchup, in terms of what they do and how you prepare for that in the post?
I mean, like you said, they obviously just play really, really physical, and that kind of can make up for some height at times. So I think for me going into a game like that, you just gotta know what you're getting yourself into, and don't be surprised when they hit you really hard or try to be super physical with you. I think there's a lot of teams in the Big East that do that too, is just play super physical, and like I said, the best way to do that is just be prepared for it and don't be surprised when it happens.
Left side end.
Billy Witz with the New York Times, Ryan Nemhard. Wondering if you've had any conversations with your brother about what getting to a Final Four might mean for a program, for a player, and if it's in any way something that you carry with you for quite some time. I mean, I know in his case it'd only be a handful of years, but
yeah, I don't know if we necessarily talked about it much, but we just talk about basketball. We just talk about the game. We don't necessarily worry about things that are too big. We go out there and play basketball. So we've talked a little bit about things within the game, but no, obviously it would be great to get to a Final Four, and he's been to a Final Four, and that's obviously something that I myself and all the guys up here want to experience. So, and our program, I think it would be great for our program. So that's something we definitely want to experience, and we're going to go out there tomorrow and try and get it done.
Yeah, we'll start back row, left side, and then we'll go over here.
Joe Nugent, NBC Omaha. Question for Mac. Actually, want to ask you about high school basketball back home. There's going to be 4 guys on the court tomorrow and today that played high school hoop in town. 2 of them are on your team. You've got a 3rd one on the way coming next year. What have you seen in the rise in hoop locally?
It's been really good, and it's gotten better during my tenure at Creighton. And we've had a lot of good players from Omaha. Josh and Antoine and Kyrie and Justin and now Sharif and Jason and Josiah next year. So we've had a good run of guys from the state. Obviously Baylor's from Nebraska as well. So it'll always be an area that we're going to spend a lot of time recruiting and hopefully try to keep the best players in Nebraska at home and at Creighton.
Right side aisle.
Mac, I know you've gotten a chance to attend a Kentucky Derby here in Louisville. What do you remember from that, and what is it like to make more memories in this town?
Yeah, it was an awesome day, and the rain was actually a blessing for me. The gentleman I was with, Dennis Albaugh, who owned the horse Free Drop Billy, a friend of mine from Iowa, it rained so much that his family decided not to walk the horse around the track before the race. So Coach Otzelberger and I, TJ's now the head coach at Iowa State, we actually, in the mud, walked the horse around the track by the grandstand through the paddock. And that's an experience that not many people ever get to experience. So it was a really cool day. We hit a big pick 6 on the day of the Oaks, so that made it a little bit better. But it was a terrific experience with a great group of guys, and Louisville's been terrific, and I think our guys would echo my comments that the hospitality from the second we arrived in the city, from our bus driver to the police escorts, the guys that have been with us, to everyone at the hotel and everyone at the arena, has been absolutely fabulous. And, that really adds to the experience. The basketball game and the competition is one thing, but the hospitality, I think, has taken it over the top.
Left side aisle.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Greg, you mentioned the history of the program, and if you look in the way back machine, there's some pretty impressive names on the list. How much of that were you aware of before you got there, and why do you think it took some time to get sort of the national megaphone on Creighton?
Part of it probably was because we were in the Missouri Valley, and the television contracts, at least at that time, we were paying to be on television in the Missouri Valley Conference. So there wasn't a lot of exposure, and there wasn't, unless you got to a Sweet 16, I don't think the national media really jumped on. But I coached at Northern Iowa before I went to Iowa State, so competed against Creighton, so obviously was well aware of Kyle Korver. I had competed against him, coached against him, and he stayed really close to our program. But I had an opportunity to meet Paul Silas on several occasions, before he passed away, and obviously he was a giant for us. But there's a long history of success there, and you know, Coach Altman really took the program to another level. Red McManus certainly had some great runs during his time. Tony Baroni. So there were big shoes to fill, and I was excited that Bruce Rasmussen afforded me the opportunity to do it, and it's just been an incredible ride since then.
Okay, we're going to keep Coach here for a little while, and the student athletes, you guys are heading off to the breakout rooms at this point, but we'll have Coach in here for more questions. Pick six, man. Pick six. All right, we'll come back with questions here, right side, front row, and then we'll go to the middle there.
Greg, Pete Thamel from ESPN. Ryan's evolution and development, it fits more of the traditional college mold. Came in, kind of bided his time, and I think he shot under 50% his freshman year. Could you just walk, tall Ryan, could you please walk me through just, you know, how much better he has gotten in evolving, and maybe a little bit of the why behind the scenes?
Yeah, his progression has really been incredible. You know, he was really gangly and somewhat clumsy when he first got here. His stamina wasn't great. We could only play him in short bursts his freshman year because he just wasn't in great shape. But then he had an opportunity between his freshman and sophomore year to try out for the USA under-20 team. Jamie Dixon coached it, and the tryout was at TCU. And after the season, when he had the invitation, he asked me what my thoughts were and, you know, how do I best make this team? And I said, well, if you want to make the team, you have to be the best conditioned frontline player there. You can't ever get tired. Every time Coach Dixon and his staff look out there, you're the one that's not huffing and puffing. You continue to run the floor. And he went to work with Jeremy Anderson, our strength coach, over the course of 6 weeks prior to that tryout and got himself in incredible shape. And I think a light came on for him that how that changed his game when he had that extra conditioning. And he's carried it through the rest of his career. He's worked extremely hard in his body. He's put on 30 or 35 pounds of muscle since he's been here. He's kind of a gentle giant, but his voice is more heard this year than it's ever been. And the guys really respect him because he's an everyday guy. I think the best thing you can say, have your teammates say about you, is that when we come to practice, we know what Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to be like that day in practice. And he never deviates from that. And he's worked extremely hard, and obviously he's enjoying the fruits of that labor now because of his consistent work ethic.
Matt, can you kind of go back to that plane ride and kind of any of the conversations you remember having with Dutch, and does this maybe feel almost full circle to beginning of the season? You're with him on a plane, and now you two are squaring off for a spot in the Final Four.
Yeah, you know, we talked about our teams. We talked about some of the opponents we were going to play. You know, he was probably more familiar with Arizona being on the West Coast. So we chit-chatted about the teams that were in the tournament. And, you know, obviously Dutch and I have known each other a long time. So you know, both of us were watching film most of the flight. But you know, they lost a close one, I believe, an overtime game to Arkansas in the third place game. And, you know, we lost a close one to Arizona in the championship game. So it was, you know, it was fun to share the flight with them, saved some costs for both of us, and got us there and all of our families and everything that goes with that. So, you know, you have to have respect for each other if you're going to share a flight like that. You know, obviously our teams and our coaching staff have great respect for one another.
Okay. Yep. Start here in the middle on the left, then go to the back. Thank you.
Greg, you know, trying to gauge what the physicality of San Diego State, how that impacts shooting and other teams offensively. I think Brandon Miller was 3 for 19 last night. Alabama hasn't traditionally shot it well from 3, but they hit like 11% from 3. What can that physicality do in terms of getting shooters out of their rhythm, getting them out of comfort zone, maybe missed shots at the basket that normally teams would convert because of that presence?
Yeah, Mensa's one of the premier rim protectors in the country. We've got a good one in Kalkbrenner, but Nathan does a great job back there. And we have to be careful not to challenge him too much. I thought, that started some transition basketball for them against Alabama because of his ability to protect the rim and get him out in transition. Hopefully the fact that we played them last year, that the physicality is not going to surprise us as much. But they're terrific defensively. They're great at being in two places at once. They act like they're going to come and help, and then they're back to the shooter in a hurry. And I think it's important against a team like San Diego State. And my message to the guys in the film room this morning was, if you've got a good shot, you have to take it. Because it may be the best one we get this possession. So while we're always in search of good to great, I think when you're playing a team like San Diego State, if you've got a good one, you better take advantage of it.
Okay. And then back on the left, Coach.
Adam Kruger, CBS Omaha. Coach, when you reflect on last year's NCAA tournament run, how much do you think that matured your team, and do you think it possibly fueled the fire for this year's run because they knew how good they could be in the future?
I think anytime you're in this situation and you can have some success or you have a near miss like we did against Kansas, I think that fuels your confidence. And you don't want to walk into this tournament without confidence. Now, it can't be arrogance. There's a difference. Confidence comes from a lot of hard work and a lot of preparation, and those guys have done that. They've paid the price in that regard. But certainly, our game against San Diego State, we were behind and came back. Kansas, we had a chance right down to the last minute, who ended up being the national champion. That helps you when you're in this situation and the different flows and ebbs and flows of the games that we've played in. Every team that we've played has made a run, and for the most part so far we've answered those runs. And that's going to be critical tomorrow, because you're going to go through some stretches against San Diego State where you're not going to score because they're that good defensively, and we just can't let it impact what we do on the defensive end of the floor when that happens. But without question, it's last year's experience has helped this team whether they know it or not.
Front row.
Greg, your early teams, statistically, were not elite defensively. In the last two seasons, there's really been a jump when you look back at the numbers. Obviously, a lot of that's personnel-based. Just how much of that is conscientious on focusing on that side of the floor, and how much of that is just having better players?
Well, my early teams had my son Doug on it, so that he wasn't allowed to play defense because I couldn't have him in foul trouble. And some nights in the NBA, he's carried that approach with him. He'll kill me for saying that, but we went from the Missouri Valley to the Big East overnight, so we didn't have an opportunity to build a Big East roster with a couple years of preparation. So we gradually had to do it, and this team has more length, more physicality than the teams we've had in the past, and we have an elite rim protector that. Some guys can block shots, but they're always going to leave their feet, and you can get an advantage because they're going to leave their feet. Ryan Kalkbrenner tried to guess when he's going to leave his feet and when he's not, because he's elite at understanding when he needs to go for a shot off the ground and when he can just wall up and use his 7'4" wingspan to impact the shot. And like San Diego State, I think teams that get to this point, very seldom do you have every game where you've played really well offensively. You have to win a game that gets a little ugly, and that was us against NC State in the first round. We didn't shoot it great, but we defended well enough and rebounded well enough to win the game, and San Diego State certainly hangs their hat on that as well.
Pete, anything else? You good? You good? Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it, and good luck tomorrow. Thanks. Hey, just a heads up, the San Diego State Aztecs are on their way to the interview room. We'll have coach and the SDSU starters for about 20 minutes. Then they'll be released to the breakout rooms, and then we'll have coach for the rest of the allotted time. SDSU is on the way. What's in that cup, Brian?
Check it out.
Hey, guys.
How we doing?
Welcome to Saturday.
Well, good. That's a good thing.
Just a heads up, Mac had to talk about some poker games that may have happened on the airplane.
that
or
might
on,
be bad.
with fish. So,
with
anyway.
fish.
Yeah. Right. Okay, the Aztecs are settled in here, and Coach, like an opening remark or two from you just about getting a chance in the Elite Eight. Thanks for being here.
Well, when we were flying to Maui with Creighton, I never thought we'd be playing him here. I would have tried to steal a few play calls off his computer. Coach McDermott and I sat across from each other and for 5 hours going and 5 hours coming back. And many of the hours spent on the laptop talking about our teams, and here we are playing to go to a Final Four. So excited for the opportunity and look forward to playing tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Questions? Start here in the middle on the left side, second row.
Bryce Miller, San Diego Union Tribune. Dutch, no team in school history has gone this far. No one in the Mountain West has gone this far in this tournament. What does that do potentially for your profile nationally, and is that important? I mean, obviously there are benefits to that, but what you're doing right now benefit you guys in terms of national respect?
I know the fan base always says, man, now that you've gone so far, you're really going to get some good players. And I'm like, I got some good players. We're in the Elite Eight, so that's kind of the funny thing. You're going to get some 5 stars. So we got players up here that we do a great job of evaluating. They're character young men. They play hard. They have a chip on their shoulder, and that's what our program's about.
Questions? Okay, we'll stay here. Okay, let's go back to the right side, back row, and then we'll come back to the left.
Hey, Danielle Lerner, Houston Chronicle. Dutch, what else do you remember about that plane ride, and was there anything that came up non-basketball related in the conversation that sticks out to you?
Obviously, we talk a lot about Coach Fisher. You know, Coach McDermott and Coach Fisher have had a long-time relationship, and so we talked about Coach a lot. Talked about our teams, basically, you know, what we thought, how our weekends went, that type of thing. And so I've known Greg a long time. We've played a lot in the past, you know. We played a game in Viejas. They beat us. We beat him with his son in the Wooden Legacy. Obviously, we played him last year in a first-round game that went overtime. So we've played each other. We've been great competitors against each other for a lot of years, and I'm sure it'll be the same tomorrow when we see each other.
2 on the left side near the aisle.
Maybe for Matt and Nathan. so much has been talked about your depth, your physicality as a team, but what does that physicality do to other teams? Alabama, you held them to roughly 20 points below their average. Brandon Miller struggled offensively. They hit like 11% from three, even though you guys were undersized on the front line. What is the impact of what you do making shooters uncomfortable?
I think our physicality and our depth allows the team to have to take difficult shots in order to beat us. And Brandon Miller, he took around 20 shots yesterday, and every shot for him, they were good looks for him, I guess, but for us, they're also good looks due to how we were guarding him. So we just cause teams to take tough shots, and our physicality, we just wear teams down with that and our depth. So it's a great combination that we have going with those two.
Defensive mindset, and we make sure anytime we play against a team is 5 guys all on one guy, and we don't take that for granted. And we know as time goes on, our defense will always pay out as the game goes.
Left side here on the aisle.
Yeah, this is for Matt. We've seen you have many great games and many big shots, but last night was not that. What was the difference last night? Why did you struggle with your shot in the way that you did? And can you explain how you were able to power through that to make the big buckets at the end?
I think I was a little sped up last night. They had great length guarding me, but majority of the shots I took, I felt like I was pretty open, or there's shots I made before. So it was a matter of just having to get out of my own head, and my coaches and my teammates kept encouraging me. People in the stands when I'm coming to the bench are encouraging me. So all that put together, and just like a little bit getting out of my own head to help down the stretch. And it was a matter of not wanting to go home and not letting my teammates down. So I'm just glad I was able to step up at the end.
Left side, third row.
Mark Ziegler, San Diego Union Tribune. Maybe Keyshawn and Matt can each take this. Last year's game against Creighton, lots have been talked about. You guys talked about it during the season. Was it you just didn't want to have that happen again, no matter the opponent? Or is it, I want a shot at those guys again?
Most def. We know last year we had the lead late into the game, but those are situations that you just grow from, and I believe that we've grown from that this year. So of course it's like you want like a revenge type game, but it's also like you got to stay level-headed and then just stay the course of the game so that it won't happen again. And we're more veterans we're more veterans now than we were back then. So we're just trying our best to learn from that situation.
Yeah, I'll say in the moment, when all those things are taking place, the loss of Creighton and some other losses we have towards the late end of games, they seem really bad in the moment, and, everybody's frustrated, but I think it's molded us to the team we are right now as far as closing out games when things get tight. The pressure's not there like it used to be, for sure, and we have people stepping up and making plays, and everybody's more comfortable. So, in the moment, it seems like the worst thing ever, but I think ultimately it's a matter of not having to go through that again, regardless of who it is.
Coming to the right side, second row.
Hey there. For the seniors, this really might just be for Nathan, but you were part of the team in 2019-20 that was, on track to be a 1 seed for the tournament, and then the coronavirus obviously canceled the tournament and the Mountain West tournament, and it really ended that year in a different way than I'm sure all of you expected. And, all of you had experience probably going through that lost postseason, but, what do you remember about what that feeling was like of, being so close and having such a great team and just not having a chance to show it on this kind of stage?
I would say it was a sad moment on that Monday after hearing that everything has been shut down. Me especially, I didn't play that much throughout the year. I played only 13 games, and I was hoping to get back on track and play for this NCAA double tournament with the seniors. And also I feel kind of bad for the seniors who didn't have that opportunity went by them. But I feel like now we are here to represent them also, and they feel proud about what we have accomplished and what we are capable of doing in this tournament.
Yeah, and to follow up, Coach Dutcher, would you mind adding a few words on that topic as well?
Yeah, I almost wish we didn't play the conference tournament. We played a week early because I think they had a convention in town. And Sam Merrill hit a buzzer beater on us, and I went in the locker room and told the guys, don't worry about this. The greatest experience of your life is about to happen. And then it didn't happen. And I always say I felt worse for Malachi Flynn, KJ Fagan, and Yanni Wetzel, 3 really good college players that never one time experienced the NCAA tournament in their careers. You know, they're all transfers. They weren't in our program. And so I felt worse for them. And so you never take a moment for granted. So we've embraced every moment we've had this year, and hopefully we'll have more.
Okay, we'll start here on the right side, front row, and then go left.
Dutch, Pete Thamel from ESPN. Whoever wins tomorrow, obviously, is going to go to the Final Four for the first time. I think you're both first-time Elite Eight participants. There's a lot of new faces and new blood. I think only one team left has won a national title before. Can you just speak to this moment and where the game is and some factors that have kind of gotten us here?
I think we all know that the transfer market has changed basketball a lot, the portal. You know, everybody's added new pieces. I think we've been ahead of the curve in the transfer market before the portal existed. We've always had quality transfers, whether it was Tony Bland back when we started this thing all those years ago. We've had great transfers in our program. And I always say the thing with the transfers is our culture is set by our 4- and 5-year players. And the transfers come in, they have to have a culture to come to, so we're not trying to add 9, 10 new guys every year. So the culture is set by guys that have been in our program, like Lamont and Keshad, Nate, and then guys like Darion and Matt come in, and there's a foundation already laid here, and they buy into that foundation. So the transfer portal's changed the game probably more than anything else. And obviously NIL, we'll continue to see what that happens with that as we move forward, what that does to the game in parity.
Left side, third row.
For Nathan, last year obviously you fouled out in that game, and your record when you foul out in regulation is like 1 and 5, and the last 6 times it's happened. Obviously, you're a very important piece. What happened in that game in your mind, and how cognizant will you be of that in this game against basically the same team?
Yeah, last year I fouled out of the game at the early stage of the game, and I wasn't able to help the team in my way of defense to accomplish a victory. So this year, coming up to this game, I plan to be mindful of what I do. I not get easy cheap fouls from the refs, and also ensure myself to be available for the team when it needs me.
Left side, front row.
Brian, can you talk about the experience? You talked last night about it took time to build this. You've got a lot of seniors on this team. Can you talk a little bit about what their development, how their development has propelled you to this, and sort of the experiences that they've gone through and endured?
Yeah, I've been at San Diego State for 24 years. I feel like we've had 3 teams before this that were capable of going to a Final Four. Obviously, the Kawhi Leonard team. We lost to UConn and Kemba when they won it all. Xavier Thames' team was a very good team. Lost in the Sweet 16 to Arizona. The 30-2 team never got a chance to play. And this team, anybody would listen, I said before the year started, this is going to be a really, really good team. How good, we won't know. But it's turned out to be what we'd hoped it would be. And so we tell them when we recruit them, I said this before, that our plan is to make it to a Final Four to win a national championship. And so we can't act surprised when we're sitting up here. This is what the goal has been. We have good players that work toward that goal, and hopefully we're able to complete the task.
Stay on the left side here.
This is for Darion. You've kind of had a really up and down season. A couple games you didn't even score, which had never happened in your career, and then you have last night. Where did that come from? And did you just get to the? I mean, did you hear the whispers of people saying, "Hey, I thought this guy was a scorer, and he's not"? And how motivating was that?
I think it's just God's timing. I feel like I put in the work. Whether shots go in or not, I feel like I bring the defensive intensity that my team needs every night and that leadership my team needs every night. So I think it's bigger than scoring, but it just happened to be last night was one of my nights, and that's the things we talk about throughout the entire year is our depth. It can be anyone's night. Last night was mine.
Back row on the left side, and then we'll come to the aisle.
John Schaefer, San Diego Sports 760. Darion, I think I had you on the radio when you first signed with San Diego State, and you said, you had aspirations of getting to an Elite Eight or further. What was it about this group that you felt like, even when you came in, had the pieces to make a run like this?
I think the strong culture. I feel like Dutch mentioned earlier, the guys who were here, they pretty much had the tradition and the culture already set, and it was passed down and to the younger guys and to the transfers like myself and Matt. And I think we had the DNA of a team that goes far in March. We're a mature team. We play hard on defense, and we just stay together throughout all the ups and downs.
If I could ask one for Lamont, you've been saying for weeks, I've been listening to you, Jam Center, Viejas, press conferences, that you really felt this was a team. You weren't just interested in making the NCAA tournament, but you felt like it was a team capable of making a run. What was it about the way the team was playing late into the year that led you to believe you could do something like this?
I feel like it's more been our grit, our mentality. Everybody believes that we can win, and I feel like that's been carrying around the whole team. And I felt everybody's energy just going into the season and the work that everybody put in. So I just kind of knew in my head and in my soul that we could do this.
Mid-major madness. So this question is for any of the players, but last night in a majority Alabama crowd, you guys had a fan section that lit up when you guys started to go on that run at the very end of the game. So how does it feel to have fans that will travel all the way across the country to cheer you guys on, and now you're in the Elite Eight?
It felt good. Even Alabama, they're red. They had the same colors as us, so just hear all the noise. It felt like a home game. And for our fans, for them to come all the way out this way and support us means a lot, and we definitely need them in a environment like it was last night. So, they're with us throughout all the ups and downs, and I'm glad we're, making them proud, and I'm glad they're here with us.
Probably have time for one or two more for the student athletes before they go to the breakout rooms, if you have any for them. If not, we'll let them go and keep Coach here. All right, fellas. Thanks, guys. You guys can head towards the breakout, and we'll keep Coach here for a little bit. Thank you, guys. Okay, we'll roll with the left side here. Yep.
Coach, you've gotten this far. You're one of the last 8 teams remaining. And except for maybe Florida Atlantic, you're the only team that probably doesn't charter everywhere, doesn't have a $3 million head coach, doesn't have, $400,000 assistants. You have a lot compared to schools, but nothing like power conference schools. Is that something that should be celebrated as a remarkable achievement? Or is it an example that maybe there's just so much superfluous spending in college athletics and all that stuff really isn't necessary?
I just think we have a mindset where we don't complain about what we don't have. We're just grateful for what we do. And I said this, I could serve a meal to these kids and it wouldn't be completely hot, it'd be cold, and they wouldn't complain. They'd just be grateful for what they had. And they're in the hotel now. They're hugging our service staff. Their chefs comes down. They're thanking the chef for all the hard work he's putting in. That's just the nature of this team. It's a good group of young men that, know the world is more than just about the 15 basketball players on this team. The world is spinning, and they're just grateful for everybody that's helped us along the way and the things we do have instead of the things we don't.
Start here on the right in the front.
A bit of a macro question, Dutch. How much thought have you put into UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten, and do you see that for your program as an opportunity in Southern California?
First of all, when we took that trip to Orlando and back, even though it was a charter, I thought, my goodness, those guys have to do this every other week to play a basketball game. It would be exhausting. So it's going to be a real challenge to be at their best with that kind of travel. So, I'm wishing them all the best, but that's more travel than I'd ever wish on anybody. Realignment is here, so everybody's just basically waiting for the next shoe to drop, whether that's the Big Ten or the Pac-12 or the Big 12, ACC. There's going to be more realignment. Will it be quiet for a while? Maybe. Will it happen in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks? Who knows? But it's here. So we all just adapt to it and make the best of it. And from an old personal standpoint, I just feel like you should play regionally. It's better on the kids. It's easier to be a student athlete instead of just an athlete. So I'm all for trying to stay as regional as you can for the sports that we play.
Could that be an opportunity? Just because you are the local Southern California team, if you will, could that be an opportunity for your program?
Yeah, I've always, my own personal belief is I always thought the Pac-12 would not ask us in with UCL or and USC because they would put us on equal footing and we'd be too great a competitor to let in. So now that they're gone and Southern California has a really good team sitting in San Diego, I would think we would be desirable for the Pac-12, the Big 12, a lot of conferences. We've won a lot of games in football and basketball. Non-revenue sports have always been good. So we do things the right way. We have a great university and we have a competitive athletic program.
Go back in the left.
Thanks. Dutch, I was just going to ask, you've been in San Diego for the better part of the last 25 years. What do you think this has meant to the city to watch this team advance to this point?
We have the greatest environment in the world because San Diego is the 9th largest city in the country, and we have one pro team in the town. We have the San Diego Padres. So the pro basketball team of San Diego is the San Diego State Aztecs. So we get corporate seats sold. The city supports us. We are the basketball team of the city, and we are the football team of the city. So we have tremendous support from the city of San Diego, and people always support things that are done the right way. We get good kids, we graduate them, they're good citizens, and we win at a high level. So the city has embraced that, and they support us wholeheartedly.
Thanks, Coach. Going on the right, and then to the other side, and then over to you.
Hey, Coach, a little bit earlier you said that you were one of the early adopters of transfers. So I'm curious, what about that market of players is attractive to you? And when you are trying to add a player to your team, I mean, several of the guys up there are transfers. What do you look for? And what about some of the guys up here made them attractive to you to add at San Diego State?
It's more than just putting in a highlight film and falling in love with someone. It's digging deeper to find out what they're about. They have to culturally fit what you're doing. And anybody we recruit, we always tell them basically the same thing. If you come here, you have to play defense. If you play defense, then I'll let you play free offensively, but you have to want to play defense because that's our culture. And you have to want to win. And so most of them that want to come are going to agree to that, even though in the back of their mind they may think, well, I don't know if I want to play that kind of defense. But then we basically have them. Well, why am I not playing? Well, you're not guarding, and when you came here, we told you you had a guard. So you have to get them to agree what you are before they come. You just don't take them and then tell them what you are once they're there. So I think we've done a good job of researching the people we've brought to the program and make sure that we get buy-in from them.
Just go right there next. There you go. And then we'll go.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Dutch, I guess this is kind of like a chicken or the egg question about your physicality. I spoke with Justin, your strength coach, and how much of is it what you target, you recruit guys that can actually play the way you need to play versus he helps you create guys that can play the way you play?
It's both. I mean, obviously, we've got a freshman on the team that looks like he's a senior, and we have a freshman on the team that looks like he's a 9th grader. So we recruit size, but then we recruit talent too that hopefully we can put size on. So Justin Landry does a great job. He's one of the best strength coaches I've ever been around. And to be a great strength coach is not the hour or so you spend in the weight room. It's helping them go to the grocery store, buy the right food, talk about sleep, talk about mental health. Being a strength coach is more than a weight room, and we've got a really good one.
Being in the Elite Eight and possibly beyond, the profile of the program just keeps getting higher and higher. You'll have a lot of players, transfers, attracted to your program. Do you think some people may be surprised at the guys you don't take because of what you're talking about, just the unique nature of player that you're looking at or looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to take a guy that says, Coach, I'm leaving a program, I'm scoring 18 for them, I'm going to score 24 for you. And it's like, well, we got a lot of good players in the program. We want to hear that, Coach, I want to sacrifice part of my game so we can win. And that's when we took KJ Fagan. We had Malachi Flynn, but KJ said, you don't understand, Coach. I have to score where I'm at Santa Clara. They're requiring me to score. I'd rather score less and give the ball up and be more of a point guard. And so when you hear words like that, that rings true to what, okay, wow, he is going to fit here what we want to do. He's not coming here saying, I want to score more for you than I did for them. So you have to do your research, your due diligence on any kid you recruit. You don't want to take someone else's problem. That's basically the way to put it.
Okay. Left side, back row there.
Brian Mark Canizaro for the New York Post. I was out, I'm not sure if this was asked at all, but with regard to Jadon, can you speak to what he brings to the table for you guys? And he played some obviously extremely important minutes last night.
I've said this before, Jadon is only scratching what he's going to be. And I could let him do so much more, but right now with the framework of what we're doing, he's doing what we ask. But Jadon works religiously on his game, and for a big, like some of the skills he has, we're not taking advantage of yet. Like he is a really good drive and kick player. Like he can put it on the floor and pick it up and find perimeter jump shooters. You know, he can shoot the three. You know, he's only taken a couple for us, but he's well within his range to shoot the three. So if I'm fortunate enough to get Jadon back, you know, we'll turn him more loose next year where he can play more of his game. I thought when he got eligible this year, it's like anything else. The more you want something to happen so fast, you squeeze so hard it slips through your fingers. And he was playing so fast and just trying to do everything at one time. And so now he's settled in and he's really comfortable. So I don't want to then all of a sudden just open it up and say, do whatever you want. He's not quite ready for that, but he will be eventually.
Okay.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Brian, when I'm just wondering if you had recruited Arthur Kaluma at all just because of Adam. I mean, it seems like they both kind of fit very well in the programs they're in, but if you had tried to get in on him.
We didn't really recruit Arthur. We watched him play and thought he was a wonderful player when he was playing with the Houston Hoops, I think it was. And, you know, I think Arthur originally was going to go to UNLV with a friend of his, and then that fell apart, and he ended up going to Creighton. And so sometimes recruiting is, if I don't want to be greedy and stack players if I got a player that I think fills that role, because I know at the end of the day they're not going to be happy if they're stacked on top of one another. And so the timing didn't work out with Arthur. As much as he's a wonderful player and could have played for us, the timing wasn't there for him to come. Even if we could have got him, then I'm not to say that he wanted to come to San Diego State.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
Thanks,
Coach,
everybody.
Appreciate your time. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. I'll be here.